y'all, this is Melissa at Mtn Quilting, and we are going to do a tutorial on For Evergreen. This fantastic project here would be an excellent project for Christmas decoration. You can also change it up and to different seasons, like you could put fall colors in here, spring colors, or any other kind of color you want. So this is an excellent project. So let's go over the items that we need for this project. Alright, so here are the supplies that you need for this project. The first thing you need is the pattern. So this is by MP Studios. It's called For Evergreen. You can also do the alternative version, which is a little bit smaller version, called Towering Trees by MP Studios. Both of these projects are going to be done the exact same way. What's very helpful, of course, is your template plastic. This will help you save your project. So like for me, I would like to do this in a couple of different seasons. So I already have all of my templates done in a plastic that can be reused over and over again. I picked out 9 fabulous fabrics to do this in. This is great, great fabrics that you can use for that, so make sure that they are good and contrasting. You also going to use some scrap batting. So any kind of scrap batting that you have, you just need it to where you can cut it into smaller pieces. So any kind of scrap batting works. You'll also need some type of turner so that you can, when you're sewing these together, you need to turn these and be able to get to your points and really get those out. And you'll need regular notions like pins, your scissors, and of course a sewing machine would be helpful with a 1/4 inch foot. Alright, so let's go to step 1 on this project. So step 1 calls for you to start working on your templates. So what we did in our project today is we made copies of the template and we cut them out, and this particular template had to be cut and taped together because it was too big to fit on a sheet of paper. This is where you could use your template plastic. So as you can see here, this is number 9. We cut it out and we got it ready to go. So that's the first thing that you're going to do, is get your templates ready. Alright, the next thing you're going to do is you're going to lay your templates on top of your fabric that you're going to use. And I've already done this step. So you need 2 cuts of each layer of tree, and you need a cut of batting for each layer of the tree. So as you can see, that's my step 9 of this project, or number 9 part of the tree. And I went ahead and did all of my sets and they're all ready to go. Alright. So the next step we're going to do is we're going to make the base of the tree. We're going to make the trunk of the tree. And that's pretty easy to do. So what you're going to do is you're going to lay your batting down first, and then you're going to lay your fabric. You're going to lay your first layer of fabric facing up, and then your second layer of fabric right sides together. So I've already done this step. I took it over to the sewing machine and I sewed all the way around the trunk of this tree. And if you notice, we did a 1/4 inch seam. You can kind of see it a little bit better on this side. And we trimmed out our corners here and to keep the bulk from being so much there. And this is where a turner would be really helpful. So after you sew 3 sides together, you're going to turn it inside out. And it's helpful to have some type of pointer or turner to help you push out those ends there so they're nice and pretty and flat. Alright, I probably would take this over to the ironing board and just press it out a little bit just to make sure it's nice and flat. Alright, so now the next step. After we got everything cut out and ready to go, we're going to start assembling our tree together. So I'm going to use the bottom part, my first layer of my tree, the branches of the tree, which is number 9 on our template here. So the pattern calls for you to lay out your batting first. Alright, I laid this out with the bigger side facing towards me. So you need the big side facing towards you. And then you're going to take 1 layer of the fabric and you're going to lay it directly on top of it, just like that. Just make sure that the big side is facing towards you. Alright, the next thing we want to do is we want to find the center of this piece of fabric here. So the best way to do that is we're going to fold it over. If you can get a good crease in there, then I would do a crease just so that you can find it. Or you could use a friction pin and mark it. But I'm going to put a little needle, a little pin in here to mark where my center is. Alright, the next step is you're going to take your base that you already made, your tree trunk, and we're going to put it with the open side facing towards you, which means it's going to be at the big side of your tree. All right, and then we got to find the center of this. It's really important that this whole tree is, the center is found for each layer, because if you don't do that, it won't hang straight. So the way I found the center was I folded it in half. All right, and I need to find where my center is here the best I can, and I'm going to line it up with my pen. Okay, so that looks pretty centered to me. All right, and then I'm going to take my last layer of fabric and I'm going to put it directly on top of it, just like that. So our next step is we're going to go to the sewing machine and we're going to sew 3 sides of this. We're going to sew the bottom piece first, and we're going to sew the sides next. All right, so let's meet me over at the sewing machine and let's sew our first layer together. So now we're going to sew our pieces together. Just a little bit of helpful hints. I use my 1/4 inch foot with the guard on it. Also, what's really great about a Bernina is it has a dual walking foot. We are going through a few layers of fabric, so this allows me to bring down like a walking foot to help me go through all these layers. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to sew through this first seam here, going all the way across the bottom. The next step is we're going to do both sides of it. All right, let's head over to the cutting table so we can start assembling the next layer. All right, we're going to start preparing for the next layer. So the first thing I want to do though is I want to kind of trim off these corners a little bit so that there won't be so much bulk down here. Make sure you don't cut where you sewed. All right, and the pattern even recommended that you go down to about 1/8 of an inch. And again, that just helps with the bulk of it, so that you don't have so much bulk. All right, now we're going to turn this inside out. And a turner really helps to push out the corners to make sure that they're nice and pointy, because that's what makes this look so cool. All right, and what I would do again is I would take this to your ironing board and go ahead and press this out really nice so that it's nice and flat. And then we're going to be ready for the next layer of our tree. All right, we're ready for the next step. So we got our trunk on, we got our first layer. Now we're going to put our second layer on. Same steps. So what you're going to do is you're going to take and get your batting out. And you need to, and it's the next number, this is number 8. You face the wide side towards yourself. All right, and then you're going to put the first layer of fabric down, just like that. All right, again, we need to find the center. So I'm going to fold it, and I'm going to put it on my line here. It kind of helps me keep it centered too. So I got it on my line there. So that's my center of this part here. All right, now we take our first layer that we did. We're going to find the center again on this. All right, so I got it right there. And then I'm going to lay it down and make sure that it's on the center of my new piece that I got down. So it kind of looks like this. You're like, oh no, what am I going to do? Well, I'll show you. All right, so the next step is you're going to lay your green fabric down on that. All right, now you don't sew through the little tips here or we lose those. So what's the first thing you're going to do is we're going to take this over to the sewing machine and we're going to sew this part down first. and then I'll show you the technique on how to keep from sewing these down. So let's go back over to the sewing machine a second. All right, I made that journey to the sewing machine. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to sew our straight line across the big part of our tree. All right, now you're asking, okay, what do I do with these little flaps? Well, what we want to do is we want to fold them in just a little bit so that we don't sew those down. We're going to reline up our ends here, and then we're going to sew just like we did the other layer. All right, off to the cutting table. All right, we got everything sewed over there. So now what we're going to do is we're going to flip this inside out after we clean our corners up again. So we want to kind of cut off as much of that bulk as we can by snipping the corners. All right. And I would go ahead and take off a little bit of the sides here. 1/8 of an inch is fine to leave behind. Okay. All right, now I'm going to flip it inside out. All right, and then your pointer will help, your turner will help with those corners. All right, and then off to the ironing station to iron this down. So this looks awesome, doesn't it? I love it. It's a fun project. As you can see, this doesn't take long at all to do. So you're going to keep doing this step over and over again until you get to the end of it. And as you can see here, our finished project. So you can do all kinds of different embellishments on it. We decided to put the little jingle bells on it, but you could put buttons or anything else. We ended it with a star. So you attach your star, and the way the star is made is it is made with cardstock inside. So the cardstock is what's inside of it. That's what makes it a little bit harder. And then we added a little ribbon to hang it by. So now we have our For Evergreen tree. Isn't this awesome? I love this project. So I hope that you enjoyed our tutorial for today. Here at Mtn Quilting, we believe in doing what makes our hearts happy. So long for now, and I will see you later.